a lot of times. Hello,
Lauren's in a
gorgeous
car.
faces. Hello, everyone. How are you? We've got a really interesting, different call for you today. And I will preface with a quick intro of our guests. But I want to start with, um, I first met Chris when he reached out to me on LinkedIn. And I had heard about him the week before because a company called Hindenburg. I kept hearing about them in other places, and they have the big audiobook conference. And I knew that Michelle with the APA was on it and everything, and I couldn't do it because I was recording. And Chris reached out and said, maybe we could talk about a Joe call. We've got this product, and I was like, I don't really understand what it is. The reason we had Positron and Find a Way was because you guys know if I love a product myself or I find something interesting that I think could help you guys, then I will always give you the chance to learn more about it. I don't endorse things. I don't, because you know me, I'm completely weird and eccentric. So what works for me almost never will work for you guys anyway. But I like to give you all the opportunity to learn. And I think it's our job, as you all know, as narrators and producers, to know everything about the industry that we possibly can so that we are prepared and we can make up our mind about things. And so I met with Chris on a quick Zoom call before this call. And there were some really cool things. Like, I think in the audiobook narrator brain, you get this thing where there's like, ooh, bells and whistles. I could do this, I could do that. But I'm very well aware of that. I don't know what I don't know. So that's why we've brought the experts on here, Chris and Jonathan, so they can explain how Hindenburg works, and we can ask our questions and get our heads around this. And we'll be the first to know, guys. Then when this becomes big in the audiobook world, we will all have the inside scoop. So I'm going to start with Chris, just because, Chris, you're the first person I met. Can you please tell us how you came to Hindenburg and what you love about it, and a brief idea of what it is?
Sure. Great to be here, Daniela. Thanks for. I'm so happy we managed to convince you that it was worth listening to me.
It's
So
very cool. And also,
was
and
nice.
it's not just because you're from Copenhagen, you're in Copenhagen. Copenhagen,
Exactly.
guys.
Yes. Yeah. So it's 10 p.m. So if I do look like I'm should be sleeping, it's because I probably should be sleeping.
You
But
look
there you
like a
go.
cool guy in Copenhagen.
There you go. Thank you. I'll put that on my epitaph.
Yes, yes.
Um, so I'm actually the CEO. I am a partner, and I've been working together with Nick and Preben since 2008. Our background is actually radio. So very briefly, we started Hindenburg as a kind of an idea that uh, we were working with community radio in Zambia and trying to find a tool that would help people that have absolutely no computer literacy record audio so they could tell their stories. And they always ended up in this really challenging situation that audio DAWs were very complicated and they were made for engineers and not for storytellers. And that was kind of the impetus for starting it. And long story, so we made it as like a hobby project, and then people here in Denmark at the Danish Broadcasting Corporation were going, "Why don't you make that for us?" And I said, "All right, we'll try that." And then we were contacted by the Talking Book Library for the Blind in Denmark, who'd also been using it, and they said, "Well, we have to make audiobooks, and those features you have with the automatic leveling and the setting of the EQ and all that sort of stuff, could you put that in something where we can read and sync the audio and make talking books or audiobooks basically for the blind with that?" And that was why we even got into this business about 10 years ago. And so we've worked with them and then the National Library Service in the US. So all the talking book libraries in the US that make books for the blind actually use 90% of them use our software, and around Europe and so on. And then we started getting contacts from narrators who'd been working in those Talking Book Live and said, hey, but I also do commercial books. Could you do a version that we can use? And I said, well, yes, we can, but you'd have to tell us what we need. And then we started doing that. And so now we've just, yeah, so we're here. I hope that makes sense.
And are you, okay, so, and we brought Jonathan along, so maybe this would be a good time to introduce Jonathan as well, because I was like bombarding Chris with 100 questions, and he said, by the way, how about we have Jonathan on the call as well? Jonathan, what about you?
What about me? Well, I am in just boring old the United States of America. I am not in Denmark, but I'm
Where
in
are you in America?
I'm in Massachusetts.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I don't know where all of you are. I think you're in LA, right?
No, I'm right by London.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was way off.
Yeah, so Massachusetts is very exotic to me.
Oh, so exotic.
But that's not London, Ontario, though.
Right.
No. UK, can't you tell my accent?
Yes. Just kidding.
So I might be able to, I have some instruments and stuff. I'm a musician, and I started working in a recording studio that was one of these. It was for NLS, which is the Library of Congress, and that's the service that they use to record all of. There's a lot of content for that, which it's magazines and digital audiobooks and all this stuff. And so I work for this one that's it was a recording studio for the blind. It was a very big one called Perkins, which is here in Massachusetts, in Boston. And it was a big production, so we had this huge amount of material to get out the door every month. And we had a stable of, it was like about 70 narrators. So these are mostly, it was a mix. Some of them were older folks that were kind of grandfathered in, you know, so to speak, and have been doing it forever. Other folks are maybe narrators like yourselves who are looking to get better at making audiobooks. And so I was the trainer there in charge of, you know, all the production. So I trained people, and then eventually NLS, the big national service, changed to, you know, to use Hindenburg. So we learned it, and then it just changed the production for us entirely. So we had this 10-year long backlog. We actually had the situation where people would, because audiobooks are long form audio, you know, it could be a 10-hour book, could be a 17-hour book. And we would have this system where, you know, books were lying, waiting for corrections to be put in, all this stuff. And sometimes people would move, and then you put all this investment into a book and all this stuff because it just took so long to do. And with Hindenburg and learning how to do it, you know, we basically train people to kind of make the final product as you're going along, which I would recommend to all of you if you're not doing that already. There are some kind of like general tips and that sort of thing about how to do that.
At Cup of Joe.
Yeah, well, there's all sorts of, I mean, Hindenburg, my kind of elevator pitch for it is like, it's a collection of quality of life improvement hacks. So it's a collection of like, oh, I wish it did this thing, and then it does. And then it's like, oh, I can't remember how it was before I could so easily do certain things. So that's kind of the idea. It's, Chris said a DAW, that means just a recording program. And so oftentimes in doing this, people are using these very complicated music recording programs that are not made for this thing. And Hindenburg, as you'll see if we do some demoing and stuff, it's specifically made to, like, you open up your text in the book, you put your stuff, it goes along with it. It just makes your life a lot easy. So a lot easier, you know. So that's kind of that's how I got into that. I became the guy there, and then started doing like trainings and sessions and stuff when we would go out to places in real life before everything was digital and remote with Hindenburg, and then now here I am. Talking to you.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Now, Chris gave me a bit of a cheat preview. I can say now, a full disclaimer, I'm a Pro Tools girl. So I went in like, nothing's going to take my Pro Tools away from me. And you get that way. It's called spent cost when you spend 6 years going through hell trying to learn Pro Tools. Like, you're like, I'm stuck for life. But I've got to say, watching Chris pull Hindenburg up was very, very interesting. In a minute, I'm going to ask if you can show us what you showed me, or one of you, what it looks like on the screen, and maybe walk through the differences recording with Hindenburg as opposed to how I would be recording with Pro Tools. The one thing that we did say was when we come to the section about it equalizing or matching sound, it's got a really cool kind of hack to find your best sound, but it can only learn, if I'm correct, Chris, in our conversation, from what you put into it. So I see that our friend Don Barnes, thank you for joining, Don. And also everyone, please feel free to type your questions in, because I would be shocked if you didn't have questions for this call. But I think this is a bit like what I say about Positron, that I use a proofer. I use Positron for myself for my own reasons. If you're going to use a new program and you want Hindenburg, tell me if I'm wrong about this, Chris, if they want Hindenburg to pull your best sound, I would still highly recommend that you go to an engineer that's going to listen to you and identify your best sound and pull that out yourself. I've said this about all the AI. You can't be afraid of every single aspect of change and new technology. You need to learn what can work for you. You can't just go, oh my God, it's new, forget it. It's going to replace, nothing's ever going to replace Don Barnes. This industry would fall on its face without Don Barnes. So, and the same with our great proofers and Positron. And Positron says that, and you guys say that, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always going to be a need for super produced audiobooks and books that have to be done fast, and books that have to, they all have to hit a certain quality level. But like some super sellers are going to want like really well produced multi-narrator, almost with this string quartet attached. So what we're addressing is narrators sitting at home working on a per produced hour rate, and who want to keep those costs as low as possible and invest what they're going to invest in the right stuff. So where you previously might have had to hire an editor to remove your ums and ahs, like, first of all, your sound engineer is going to pull his hair out or her hair out because that's not what they were brought into this world for. What they want to do is focus on like super polish or making it really fantastic. So for me, it's about doing it efficiently, and then if you really want to work with a sound engineer to polish it up, you can still do that, and you don't have to pay them to remove your ums and ahs. You can pay them instead to do something really super fantastic with your voice or your production.
Oh, I love that, because while you're doing it, so basically you're in real time recording a more finished product.
Correct. Yeah, that's what you're doing.
And you have the choice to make it completely raw if you want to in the settings. Yeah. So if a publisher is requesting completely raw, you can just do a completely raw.
Sure, recording. Absolutely. But I mean, we've had ours, proofed at Findaway and proofed by the Danish Broadcasting Corporation and the NPR and CBC and so on. I mean, we're using the same technology for level setting and so on, and they're like, well, it does it right. There's every once in a while you might have to go in, and you should always check your work no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So it's about efficiency and spending your resources on the right things. To your question.
I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to interrupt. How does it preserve the floor level when it's adjusting the sound level as well?
Because everything it does is non-destructive. So basically your raw audio is kept as it is, and then everything is done as an adjustment to that. Okay. So you'll be exporting a version of it that's been adjusted as whatever results you've done. I mean, in Pro Tools, at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure you're doing the same. It's also non-destructive. It's non-destructive, so your raw audio stays the same.
You
just keep breaking it.
I can explain it
Yes,
in a way.
yes,
Yes, please,
he can.
because I've gone back into Pro Tools looking for my non-destructive original file, and funny enough, I've never been able to once recover it.
You broke it.
Okay. Well, there's a couple things there. So, but just first of all, I just maybe everybody knows this, but so what you're paying for when you do go into a studio, I imagine that most of you here are going to be doing this where you're recording at home. So let's say,
Yes.
what's the alternative or the extreme, on the other end? I mean, you're not going to go into a recording studio with a drum set. That's just not what you're doing in there. It's just you and a voice talking. So you're paying for basically three things. You're paying for the microphone that's being used, the interface, which is the thing that the microphone plugs
Yeah.
into, which is the preamp of the microphone, which just makes it brings up the volume and kind of gives it a character, if you like, and then a sound isolation booth. So do you need a $4,000 microphone to record the book? I mean, realistically, no. You need a place that's quiet and a decent enough microphone. And then the other part, of course, that you're going to be paying for is just somebody. This isn't the studio. This is just whoever is going to basically fix it for you or make it so that you can publish it out into the world. That's where the cost comes. Like, let's say you're paying me to do it, which I do. People pay me to do that stuff, and I'm going to go through it. I mean, basically, I'm going through it all and taking out the edits and making it match the text and giving it out to the world. Now you're going to pay me, probably half of the profits of your, recording, because that's just the reality. So the idea is, like, if you can do that yourself, you can save yourself all that money. But so that's just in general, like what comes up with that kind of thing. But in terms of like Pro Tools is non-destructive. So what I mean by that, maybe it makes sense to start showing screens and stuff. But like on track 1, right, where your audio is, you
Yeah.
can put like plugins, like EQ or something.
Yeah.
If you were to grab any of those regions, the little pieces of audio, and pull them onto another track, that plugin's not connected to that audio. It's like only when it's on that first track. So you always can go back to the original thing and do whatever you want to it, even if you save it or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
Is that too
Got
much?
it. Got it. Yeah, got it.
So Audacity, which is a program a lot of people use when they first start now, especially because it's a free program, it is destructive, which means once you save it, let's say you put on this EQ, it made your voice sound really good and you liked it. You save it, you open it up tomorrow, that's just there. That's written to that bit of audio. That's just how that is. So if you're like, I don't like it today, well, you got to start over again.
But
That's
I've
the
never
difference
used Audacity. Can I ask you a question? If you were
Sure.
using Audacity, and you wanted to
I
apply
wouldn't.
things, but you didn't trust yourself, could you bounce it out as raw and save a raw file and then import that raw file and start from scratch on that the next day?
You can,
Or does
you can
Audacity
always
not
do
work?
that. Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that, but the amount of times that you're getting
That's
into those things, it's like,
not worth
you're only
it.
going to want to do that so many times, and then you're like, oh, I don't want
Yeah.
this anymore. That's not even a Hindenburg thing. That's just a, like, you're going to want to, like you were talking about the Jetsons and how amazing this world is. Non-destructive audio is a pretty amazing thing. Every studio on Earth for everything is non-destructive.
Okay, because Lauren is just saying, and I old habits die hard. I don't have to do this now, but I confess I still do, just out of paranoia. She saves the file raw, then she saves the file mastered, and then she saves the file MP3, because
Yeah,
you
good
get
idea.
like so scared, because when you
Yeah,
start, you don't know.
I know.
And then you go on and you're afraid to like not do it.
Those are problems that it's like from another time. So again, I actually just gave a presentation where I compared Pro Tools, Hindenburg, and Audacity. It was for their Pod Fest, but it was good. I mean, it was cool to look at them, what they do, what they don't do, and what they're made for, and all that. And Audacity, even when you open it, it looks like it's from like 1995, and that's not to like slog on it. That's just what it looks like, and that's fine. It's just what it looks like. But that functionality and that way of doing things, it's kind of like doing things before you had cloud storage or things were backed up automatically on your phone or whatever. You're like, oh, I took that, all the pictures are gone forever. Like, that's not the time we live in anymore. They're not gone forever because of the way that works. It's kind of like that with destructive audio.
Okay.
It's like going back to the 90s and how it works. So yeah, you can
Okay.
do that, but
Or it didn't
Yes.
work.
Best
Yeah.
to move on. Okay, guys, can whichever one of you would like to maybe show us the way Chris showed me on the Zoom call, what we're talking about, what Hindenburg has to offer? I love the screenshot. It looks so cool.
So here is Hindenburg with nothing in it. That's what you see. And so what it is there is the top part is like most DAWs, recording programs. This bottom part, which is the manuscript, is kind of where things get a little bit different. So if I'm here and I just, start recording just how you would normally, that's me speaking, it's picking me up. It looks, it's in red like the on-air light on a booth, on a recording booth, the idea.
Can I ask a question, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody brought to my attention, now I record with my manuscript under my WAV files, but somebody said that they knew a lot of people recorded the other way around. Is there any way to change the screen views of the manuscripts on top of the WAV file?
Yes, you can do all that stuff, but you could do a lot more. So,
okay.
But this first part is just recording, except that it's like when I'm going along and doing that. So that's a little bit of pre-roll, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm speaking again. But when I stop it, it does this thing where it auto levels it as I'm going along, which means that it matched my second take to my first take in terms of the level. So you don't have to go back and fix it afterwards. And again, when you're talking about a long book, it's a long period of time, But so having the whole thing auto level and kind of fix it as you go, that's sort of the idea with what I meant by like quality of life hacks. And then what you can do that's really different is you can open up books. So this is an EPUB, and this works with all kinds of files, Word documents and such. But you can open up the text of the book. You can resize it and put it however you would like.
Okay.
But you can.
And sorry to interrupt again, but what Chris said, you'll probably bring this up later too, but the auto leveling that you're talking about, I'm right, Chris, did I understand you right? So that means that when I go back into the book tomorrow, it auto levels to what I was at yesterday exactly. So if for any reason the mic changed or something,
correct,
it fixes it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
and for if anyone's technical, very quickly, we use a system called loudness to measure volume. So in the days of Audacity, used a peak meter, which is kind of what's down at the bottom, and we keep that there so people feel safe. But the long bar is actually a loudness bar as well, so you can right click and change it to loudness, and loudness measures volume over time, and that's how you get a consistent level. So because a peak, and I'm sure Don will probably say, peak just tells you how loud something is at a very particular point. It doesn't tell you how loud things sound over time, and that's why you can measure. If you I'm old enough to remember Depeche Mode. When they brought out their songs, they had the same peak level as everyone else, except it was much louder because they just kept it at that peak level all the way through. So, technically, it was at -6 or whatever it was, or -3 probably. But it sounded much louder than Tears for Fears because Tears for Fears had dynamic sound in it and so on. Anyway.
Okay, we had a question. Is it okay if I interrupt you with questions, Jonathan?
Yeah.
So that they're, I just think because this is technical, it's good to ask.
If it's relevant, yeah.
Lisa, are you comfortable asking out loud? Just because I didn't really understand the question. Or do you want to type it again? Okay, so the question was, can we see the settings of these levels and such? Most of us are very technical and want to see the guts. Pretty please and thank you. Oh, not in her booth. So, I don't understand is, does she mean, can she see them now or can she see them while she's recording?
Well, both. If you see the little meter up on the left, right next to the word narration, that is the recording level. Obviously now it's not recording, but if Jonathan says something, you can actually see it.
Here I am. I'm speaking and there I am being recorded there. Yeah, so that's where you're seeing the level there. And here
and
too.
then at the bottom, yes, exactly.
Which you can detach all this stuff if you.
Is that what you meant, Lisa?
I'll check the chat. Is that what you meant, Lisa?
Give us a thumbs up.
Yeah, she says now and both, but no thumbs up yet. So, well, she'll let us
Okay.
know if there was another question. Oh,
Yeah,
not
if there's an
really.
additional
She
question.
says not really, give her a moment. And then Lori says she knows what she's saying. Then
Okay.
Lauren says, maybe I'm not understanding this auto leveler and how other narrators work. I use Audacity and I start a new file for each chapter, so I wouldn't open the same file as the day before. How does it work to level day-to-day difference? So
Yeah.
would she be
Okay.
starting the new file in the same wouldn't that work?
Not
All right.
necessary, because we use the
Unnecessary.
same. Yeah, we use loudness on everything, so it's the same standard we're measuring it by every day.
Okay.
So it's always going to be equally loud, whether it's this one or the next one.
Okay.
So
Cool.
basically, it's probably easier than it seems, but it is kind of just set it and forget it. So that was just a little bit of pre-roll, and then now I'm recording again into the program. And as I, if I was to stop this and then do another recording, it'll be the same thing.
So every file you go in ever, unless you change your settings, is going to be the same level.
Yes, you can turn it
Okay.
off. That's up to you,
Yeah.
But yeah, you see how it brought it down. It'll just match you, throughout the whole book. So it's and now you don't have to record that way at all. You can record totally raw. It's easy to just turn it off.
And
But
then Lori says, and I don't know if this is a question. I don't think it is. She says, we can usually see the actual dB because the loudness meter has dB graduations.
that is right down here at the bottom at this transport bar. I'll just detach this and bring it up. I think that'd be the easiest way. Of course, it's like I can't do it right now, but yeah, weird. I can't grab it, but you can.
There.
There it is. Jeez. Okay, so there you go. This is what we're talking about. This little transport bar. So you are seeing these are dB levels here, if that's what you're wondering about. It's the same
Okay.
over here, but that's the number graduation. And if you're wondering like where it's auto leveling to in here, it goes up to about -9.
Okay.
In that kind of sweet spot range of like around -20, between -20 and 15 and -9 dB.
Is it okay if I bring Lisa on real quick to
Sure.
explain her question from earlier? Lisa, are you there now?
Yeah,
She
I
raised
am.
her
Can you
hand.
guys hear
Hi.
me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Sure.
All right, cool. Yeah, that what I was asking is, could we see how we set what that level is? Does it just pick on its own? Do we where the back end where we set the settings
That you
to
cannot
set
do.
the parameters?
You
Well,
cannot change the
you
parameters.
can and you can't. If you go into the Jonathan, the settings or musical preferences, you can see all the different settings that are available.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But that's the export settings. So, but what
Okay.
we're talking about is the recording settings, and basically it's non-destructive. So when we are setting the levels at -23 LUFS, which is on a peak meter around -9, if I remember correctly, we're not doing anything destructive to the audio. It's not like that's done. It's just
You're not applying an
if
EQ kind of thing. It's
no,
still your raw audio, but just a
well, no, it's like you do in Pro Tools, for example. You set an automation line to set the levels, right?
okay.
So it doesn't destroy the recorded audio, it just sets the levels for you. It's like that post-production phase where you go up and say, oh, I was a little louder here, or I was a little softer there, a little louder there, and then it makes them all sound equally loud. But we're not doing anything destructive, so we're just basically setting those automation lines for you as you go along. Does that make
I have
sense?
a question. Am I attaching, like if I were to move to Hindenburg, am I attaching my Audient ID to Hindenburg just like I do to Pro Tools?
Your
no?
what ID?
Audient,
it?
my the preamp, the Audient. You guys,
The
what's
preamp
the
is
name of another Audient?
Like a
your microphone, like what you plug the microphone into.
Normal interface. That's
Yeah,
the
your
one I was
interface.
looking for.
Yeah.
Am I using an interface as well?
Yes.
Yes.
You can. It's your choice. You have, the thing you plug your microphone into and then into the
It
computer,
works
right?
without
Yes.
one of those.
Yeah, you could just use your MacBook Pro or whatever, your computer microphone, but you probably wouldn't want to record an audiobook like that.
No. I mean,
Okay, so you do
in
use
principle,
an interface.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, in principle, but that's just a chain. I mean, that's Hindenburg is just the recording software.
So it's
your mic
just
in
like
your
Pro
studio.
Tools in that sense.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Does this DAW have any FX tools such as breath and click removal? I think we're getting to that at a later point, aren't we, Jonathan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of the other thing that's kind of unique to Hindenburg is that you can actually view it where you don't have to see the waveform at all, and you can just.
Yeah,
so
that would
I'm
freak
recording
me
now,
out.
and then yeah, it's this is some people love this. You can also have it on two screens. I got a couple screens, so you can have it on like the this on one. This actually even works with a touch screen. But when you're recording, the way it works is that as I'm cycling through the text, I'm hitting the right arrow key on my computer, and what that does is it makes it so that the text syncs up with the audio. So if I was to stop this, and some of these little numbers you see is just that same auto leveling feature. But if I go back to the Hindenburg file, I'll even turn that off. All of these little, if you can see that as I'm clicking on these are called nav points, navigation points. It's corresponding to the text on the bottom. So,
So if you click in the text.
Yeah, and you can click in the text as well. And so it's just an easy way to, you have everything synced up with the text and the audio.
Right, Lisa Ware. That was my thought exactly. It scrolls with you while you record and stops when you stop. OMG.
Yeah, no, I was doing that. So
With the right,
you would do
with
that,
the
but
right.
it's one button. It's one button to record. It's one button to have it. It's just, if you could press one key, you can use it. And then you have the table of contents in the book. And I'm going to open up a different book because it'll just show it a little bit better. But basically, you have this.
Yeah, that's what they're all saying. We would love that feature. Make it auto scroll, and you'll have narrators drooling at your door.
So you can also record in each chapter individually, or each part, or each anything. So you could record into this, where I'm saying, this is
so
the
if
July.
you click on July and record, and then you go back in and click on March, does it go further earlier in the file?
Correct.
I'm going to do something. I'm just going to do it from scratch. It might be a little easier to see. What you can do is you can actually make this like structure of your book. So let's just say this is like chapter 1, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to put a bunch of these, okay? Chapter 2. And there's a shortcut for this that makes this really easy to enter it in. All right, and it's chapter 21. All right. So here's the idea with this mode here. So here's my book of 4 chapters. I'm just going to leave them like that, okay? So you can record in this leaf mode, which means that I can just record in this, okay? So here I am recording, and this is chapter 4, although for some reason it says chapter 41, all right? And then if I click on another chapter, I don't see any of that audio, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's gone, but it's still there. It's just isolated. And I can record out of order even. Here I am recording chapter 1, okay? This is chapter 3. There's that. And
I have another question coming up. This may show my, don't say that, Lauren.
Here's
so
chapter 2.
Lauren says, when I record in Audacity and I scroll to the next page, I have to remove that scrolling noise. Are you saying Hindenburg auto removes click noises and things while you're recording?
No, it doesn't do that. It doesn't auto remove click noises.
Okay.
But you could record the book, out of order or one chapter at a time
Yeah.
and then it will automatically has it all linked up in its order.
In the proper order. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
And you can click on the manuscript at any section and it'll go to that section of the recording, won't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say, Lauren, though, to your question about scrolling, I'm assuming you're talking about your mouse scrolling
Yeah, she is.
sound, right? Yeah. So in this, you wouldn't have that problem because you would have your manuscript and then you would be clicking gently your right arrow, and that would be scrolling for you as you record. So that doesn't become an issue. And you can even use a touch-sensitive screen as your interface, and you're definitely not going to be touching. I mean, obviously, if you have like a Cherry MX super clackety keyboard, you've got the wrong equipment for what you're doing. You buy a silent keyboard.
And also mouse, Lauren. By the way, you can buy like a really cheap mouse on Amazon that's completely silent, and it won't make any noise either. So,
yeah.
Might be worth doing just for yourself.
Yeah, just so you don't go crazy with the clicking
for your sanity.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So like a couple of the other things that are kind of game changers are here's a game changer when in that scenario that I talked about before, where I had to produce all these books, we had to put in all the corrections afterwards. You know, you record, you listen back later, made a mistake. So this first thing is a game changer. So let's say this was a sentence I recorded, right? And I made a mistake. I said Barack Obama instead of Barack Obama. All right. So what I can do is, so if you wanted to record this and put this in, it gets tricky because then you're dealing with the timeline, right? But let's say I just made this selection and this is the sentence I need to redo, even if it's in the middle. Let's say it's this thing in the middle, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to record the selection. Here's this bit of pre-roll. And here I am recording this part, but oh no, I've gone over the space that I've recorded and I didn't get the time to work. What's it going to do? But it automatically pushes everything to the side, so you can automatically insert any bit of audio at any point in the file, no matter how long it is. And that's how, you know, we put in the corrections. You're also hearing what you did, so you can just kind of match yourself in the flow of time.
Yeah.
That for us was a game changer, in all honesty. So that feature alone probably got rid of 5 years of a backlog. So that's a big one. And then the other thing that's really unique about Hindenburg is that you can store these little clips and segments of audio, and you can always have them at the ready to put in and out. And so this is really, I think every DAW should have these features, in all honesty. So this first one is the favorites window. So what it means is that just from session to session, you could save stuff. So every book you're going to do is going to need room tone, right? That you're going to put into the book for like chapter headings and that kind of thing. You can just save it there, and you can always bring it up. Okay. You can also just have whole clips of audio. You can have whatever you want saved in there. Okay. But you know, an important thing would be, you know, the room tone for sure. So
I love that, because I do that. I have the 2.5 second space. I've got the header and the footer, and I import them. And then like I have to cut and paste in between each file so that I can pull it up again.
Right. So this just makes life easy that you can have stuff in there. You can also take anything you want from the file, you can drag it into the favorites window and draw it out. But there's this other tool which is really great if any of you do anything where you're doing character voices.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So this is especially good for people if they're doing like a kid's book or something like that. So this is where this comes up, and people have, you know, told me like in trainings and stuff, like how it's used. So if you have, let's say it's a kid's book and it's a 3-part series and you're doing all these different characters in book 1, some character that comes up in book 1 might not come back until book 3. So what did they sound like and how do you reference that and stuff? You can save any bit of audio in these clipboards. So let's say this was a character. You can take it from this book and you can type in like, you know, whatever. You can rename them and say, you know, monster. Or you can do, you know, and then this little play button just means you can sample it. So you can always hear all of your different clips, okay? And there's even shortcuts to put them in that's like super fast and everything too. So, I mean, you could really do it very quickly when you get used to it, but the important part is you can have all these things here, or you can say, you know, whatever, Bernstein is how I said it in chapter 1. And I would recommend to any of you to use a tip sheet or whatever you want to say, a pronunciation guide, just to remember how you said stuff again in chapter 1 that's going to come back in chapter 10. Well, this is an audio version of it. You can just hear yourself saying it and you can keep it, you know, plugged along.
Yeah,
And then
much
the other
easier
huge
than
thing,
I put it on my phone. It's a pain in the butt.
oh yeah, so like you could just keep it all there, and then this is even the, you know, the cooler thing is that you could, let's say you had 50 characters in book number 1, and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? You can import you can import little clips of audio into this clipboard. You can also import an entire clipboard of all your voices that you saved before, and you just have access to them.
And it's with that exact file, because the thought did occur to me that I'm saving all this stuff on my phone all the time. If anybody ever murders anyone in my vicinity and they have to collect my phone, I'm in trouble, because it's
Right.
like terrorists, murderers. I'm like, different ways to kill people, you know. You know what I mean? So that's
What kind of
brilliant.
books do you read, you say?
Yeah, what are these books?
I'm not a romance
Thrillers.
girl, really.
All right.
Yeah, John, good thing I don't live in LA.
That's really funny, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's associated to
Well,
each
now I
file.
know how to get away with murder. Basically, I just do something close to you, and then I point at Daniela. Look at her phone.
Yeah, really. I mean, if anyone looks at my internet searches, I'm in trouble. I really am.
Oh,
How do you pronounce this?
noted. Noted.
But so, okay, there was something else. Oh, yeah. Am I too early to ask about that thing that Chris mentioned? Whereas you can import, and this is the thing where I really want to hear Dawn's opinion on it, not to stick you on the spotlight, Dawn, but because I don't understand how it works because as I said, I had a stack done. I have like EQ settings that I apply, and I do it the way Jonathan would probably faint if he heard how many loopholes I go through to make it work. Not the right way, I know that.
Well, you're doing it in Pro Tools. There are only long ways to do it.
But I'm doing the long way. Yeah, and because I just got the settings from the producer, and I literally am afraid to use them. But long story short, they were designed for my voice to do the specific things I wanted, i.e., the thing that annoyed me was certain types of breaths. I still left breaths in, but got rid of a few, certain things like that. Chris, you mentioned that in Hindenburg, you can give it a sample of your voice the way you want it to sound, and it will do EQ for you, or...
Yeah, but you've got to be careful because you're mixing a lot of things in there. EQ is one thing. EQ is the timbre of your voice, right? It's the how much treble, how much bass. It's not your breath as such. It's more the kind of the character of your voice.
And the stack
that's
have
EQ.
mixes it all together so that I don't have to understand it.
Yeah, but the thing is that your voice changes. I mean, from morning to evening, your voice changes. So if you just have a set EQ, you're doing the same to a light morning voice as you're doing to a heavy evening voice.
But if I'm not an engineer and I do a lot of audio, you know, I do like 3 finished hours a day of audio, and I'm not an engineer, I couldn't differentiate that every single time.
Yeah, but we can. So basically, you were talking about that sample in the studio. So in principle, I mean, look, I would always, as you were saying, I would always go to a real engineer in a real studio to do this.
Okay.
So that's the right way to do it. You go to a studio with a good engineer who knows what he's doing or she's doing, and they have, you know, proper speakers in a properly isolated room, and they have the ear for it. And then you do a recording, and they then sit and EQ your voice to where you and they agree that is what I sound like when I sound best.
Yeah, and I've never still gotten that with my audiobooks, because I've done voiceovers, and oh my God, I sound gorgeous. I sound thin. I sound sexy. I sound beautiful. Not getting that with my audio. But Don, I know Don's been able to give a few of my fellow narrators that.
How do
Okay,
you sound
but
thin? I'm just curious. What you mean?
Huh?
Like
She's-
physically thin, or like the
Yeah,
sound?
I
is
sound
thin?
gorgeous.
Oh, okay.
I sound like they Photoshop my voice, right? And
Okay.
that's like, who are we kidding?
Okay.
We all
Okay,
want.
but I mean, okay, and now we have to be careful because that sound, I understand Don's an engineer, is that correct?
Yeah.
So that sound
Oh,
you're
I don't know
talking
if he's
about,
an engineer. I think he's an engineer. He's like the sound.
and so
Don, are you comfortable chatting for a second?
Come on
I'm
up,
very
Don.
shy.
okay, good.
No, I'll talk. I mean, I cut master records back in the day. I've worked in recording studios. I've
Yeah.
helped thousands of people do voiceover, and but whatever. I mean, I've done. So yes, I'm a sound engineer.
But
I have
you
a
Okay.
make
background,
people
but-
sound perfect. That's what it's the Don Barnes effect that I've been trying to get, even though I use Pro Tools, so I don't get Don Barnes. But that's what we all want. We want the guy with the ear like you, Don. And
Well,
then
most of the time, so here's what I'll be rude and cut you off.
Okay.
They have it right though. They either can match you from time to time. That's cool. Most of the engineers or most of the people I'm going to work with, I get multiple samples of them, and it's always a compromise. And when we're dealing with audiobooks, they have it right. We have this big problem these days that 90% of our audience is going to be listening off a smartphone, and while I get my wife and 1,000 other people sounding absolutely great in a nice room where I've got great monitors and a well-treated room, and then they're playing it off their smartphone, and so
On shitty headphones.
or normal, yeah. I mean, most people are not going to even have the level of headphones that most voice artists have are 4 or 5 times better than the level of most consumers, and so in other words, getting you the perfect sound when I'm doing a commercial thing, then I'm going to be targeting making me sound thinner because physically, not so that because they wanted a young romantic guy. Well, that ain't me. So I'm gonna change my voice to fit the visual that they think they want to have the audience to have. So that's easy. You're doing an audiobook. I've got 6 voices. I'm not going to have every one of them sound as sexy as I would like. So you're going for the middle, and you're going for what's going to play across the most devices.
And
so
do you
can get a
think
pretty
that you
good
can
sound, but
do
I can't
that? Sorry,
Yeah,
now
but-
I cut you off, but can you do that in lieu with Hindenburg? Can you like help someone with their sound and then they could
have
bring
that
that to
dialed in,
Hindenburg?
I'm assuming, well enough. I mean, first off, everything's a compromise. So they're
Right.
going to do it probably better than about 80% of the voiceover artists could do themselves. So that's a huge win. So hats off there. And there's a lot of books out there where it wouldn't matter whether I sound thin and sexy because, well, one, I'm never going to, but that the point of me liking how I sound over my microphone is not really the point. It's how does the audience perceive me, and can they hear me, and are they move? Do I have the feel that causes an emotion for them that causes them
Right.
to do something? Feel a certain way.
Yeah, so Don, so I totally agree, and so that 30-second spot, that you're going to engineer the life out of to
Correct.
get an exact commercial ad sound. You
Correct.
can never do that without
Right.
well, maybe in 50 years, maybe in
Well,
100 years, there'll be an AI
and
that can
you
do
don't
that.
want
But that
that
is
on an
because that's an
audiobook
emotion.
anyway, though.
Exactly, you
You-
don't, and what we do is we find that sample of you sounding good. You can take it from some previous work, but I would suggest again find someone like Don and go into a studio with them and record it, and then you take that sample and you import it into Hindenburg. And can you bring that up again, Jonathan?
Yeah.
And then what we do then is instead of just applying a set EQ, we take that original, which is that white line there, then we compare it to what you just recorded, and then we adjust the EQ so that it sounds the same. So basically we're doing what an engineer does. An engineer listens to what you should sound like, listens to what you have right here, and sets
Tells you how to
EQ.
get from point A to
But
point
what
B.
you are doing with a fixed stack is that you are doing that once, but your voice is changing over the 17 hours you recorded it, and you're just doing one setting. We are actually listening to you, comparing to your best sound, step by
Oh,
step all the way along. So you're actually
oh,
you're getting much closer to having an engineer doing it for you than a set stack.
that is the first
But
time I've actually thought maybe I could leave Pro Tools.
okay, but now,
You'd
but
save your profile of
but
yourself, and then you
yes,
open it up, and you just
yeah.
apply it to the track.
Next
So I
time you
suppose,
just say apply Jonathan, and now that bunch of noise sounds like Jonathan on a sunny, breezy day.
yes, that's the idea.
So then I
But
could go to
Daniela,
say Dawn and say, Dawn, could you please, I don't know, Dawn, is this something that you would do if I came to you and said, Dawn, could you please listen to my raw file and help me get it sounding as genuine and good as possible? Could you do that for me if I
and Don will know that's the last time you're coming to do that, so he will charge you about $20,000 because it's now gold. You
well, but it would
basically,
be worth it, to be
but it
honest.
would be worth it, yeah. And then Don never has to speak to you again, and he's happy, and then it's all good, you know. But it's really important to understand, Daniela, that that is not the same as removing breath or clicks or anything else. We're just talking about the timbre of your voice. Your stack sounds like it also has a debreather and a declicker and
It's
whatever
got a
else it does.
slight, not a gate, but a slight expander. I can't remember the name of it, that lowers the higher, louder breaths. A slight one, not too much,
Right.
because I got told off by the engineer that I can't have as few breaths as I would like to have. And so it's got a
You have to
slight,
breathe.
and it's
It's
got a
important to
slight
breathe.
decrackle.
Breathe.
Yeah, it's
I've
got a
just been to
slight
yoga.
decrackle.
I can teach you about this breathing thing.
Yeah, my breathing's been really good. Don't even get me started. Because that's the other thing. I've got breathing problems recently that I'm trying to fix. So all that comes in. So can Hindenburg take care of breaths, or do I have to do it in Pro Tools?
Well, you can do it in the same way as in Pro Tools. So in Pro Tools, you're using plugins, and you can use those same plugins you already have in Hindenburg.
Oh, okay.
So
I'll just
yeah, so where you saw that equalizer before, do you have a lot of plugins on this machine?
Oh, yes, I do.
That's
So
what I
all
thought.
these ones that are above, these are the ones that come with Hindenburg, and all this stuff at the bottom is all my garbage here. So, you know,
Do you have Melda? Really? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what, I don't really use it.
Can you do
This one's
normal
great.
punch and roll if you're not interested in that whole highlighting thing?
Sure. You just, yep. I just, you put it somewhere and you just,
You have to set punch and roll, whatever.
Yeah,
there
can you
go.
set punch and roll in Hindenburg and just,
yep.
okay,
You can
good.
do, so I just did it there, you know, that's
Because
the,
I've always
that's the,
recorded in punch and roll. I'm just comfortable with it.
oh yeah.
We have
you
both.
definitely want that.
We have a pre-roll, and then you have a
Post roll.
kind of,
You can
well,
set
I
the
mean,
time
it's
of it and all
one,
that too.
yeah.
So wait, I
All
lost
that.
the plot. So I can
Good.
take care of, oh yeah, so I would have to put the plugins that I got set up on my stack.
It would just find them automatically. It's just going to find them.
How am I
But the
going to connect this
settings,
to
but
Pro
the
Tools?
settings. I mean, I gotta be careful because I mean, in Pro Tools you can keep settings, Jonathan.
All right. So it depends if the plugins that you're using are the ones that came with Pro Tools.
No, he sent me an email and oh yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Or the ones that you buy separately. I think they're the
Yeah.
ones that came with it because I didn't
Okay.
pay anything.
That would be different. So those are with, you know, in Pro Tools. But if there are plugins that anything that you get after the fact, it will just find them. That's what
Okay.
all these are.
Okay. So for Studio and Audacity, are they equally as easy to move over to Hindenburg from? I don't know those programs, so I'm not familiar with.
As long as they're third-party plugins that follow the standards. Our Hindenburg will just look on your computer and say, do you have any plugins? Yes, you do.
Okay.
And they will show up on that list.
Okay. Wow.
Can I
Okay.
show you one of them that's kind of like also one of these quality of life hacks?
Yeah.
I just want to I gotta stop the share and share it again.
You guys
Get my
should do a
sound here.
podcast.
Oh, don't get me
That's a good idea.
started.
It'd be great. It'd be great. You can get a nifty. I'll do the intro video for you, and then you could do like nifty voiceover Hindenburg hacks. I think it'd be cool.
Well, I'd say this: if anyone's interested, on the 30th of this month, we're doing for this. It's like a 3-hour long hands-on thing. It's free, so I'm not plugging stuff you got to buy. But it's a training where you download these materials and you open up books just like I'm doing here, and I show you, hey, here's how you do this thing, and then you just follow along and do it. And there are these different exercises and stuff.
When is it? When is that?
That is on the 30th, and
I'll
put a
find
link
the
in
link.
the chat. Yeah. that'd
Okay.
be
Yes, please.
Yeah.
But do you hear this?
No,
No?
loopback is not working as it should. How unusual.
Well, you're not supposed to use loopback with Hindenburg unless I got it on. And I do not. So
I feel so technical after this call.
supposed to be able to with this share sound.
And maybe I should have a word at this point about voiceover. Did you say, when I asked you before the call, I have a friend that's interested in this, but for the purposes of voiceover, would it be, did you say you had another product that might be better for voiceover?
Yeah, I mean, this is specifically made for audiobook production. So voiceover, I mean, depending on the kind of voiceover, you could do it in this. It kind of depends on what kind of voiceover we're talking about. And again, also, if it's one that's going to be as highly produced as what we were talking about before, the one that Don made you sound super thin and sexy.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't Don. Don,
I'm just kidding.
I'll say this here. I've
That
probably
kind of-
embarrassed Don enough at this point, but Don actually, I was stuck on Pro Tools and too scared to learn anything new. So that's why I didn't end up with Don. But Don trains the people he works with, if I've got that correct. I think he doesn't just go into a stack and throw it at them. He goes over everything, and he actually trains them. They've got actual homework.
Are you training with is it Pro Tools you're using, Don?
No.
Or is it anything?
I live in Studio One.
Yeah.
Studio One. Okay.
Yeah, he
So-
you do teach them how to use it and everything, don't you, Don? It's an actual proper program so
Right.
that they know what they're
So
doing.
it-
And that
in-
makes it- but just like what you're doing, I have the templates all set up, so all the stuff is preset, and so they have their room tone saved, so they have their. I mean, it's conceptually you're doing the same thing, and what I've done is just taken the DAW and converted it so it looks like an audiobook or a voiceover production tool. And so they get the right template, they'll do voiceover. They get the right template, they'll do a audiobook. They pull up the right template, and they're all preset for doing podcast.
Yeah.
So it's all template based and extensive, having all the presets set up and then tweaked for them. So same idea.
I mean, I would say in terms of that voiceovers question, I'd have to know more to just answer what kind of voiceovers and how long, and so it's a maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Probably.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
They do commercials. I know they do e-learning, and they have
Yeah.
clients dial in all the time, and they do shorter jobs.
I mean, I'll put it this way: if they were doing 30-second spots, I would probably use our other product, or I might even, depending on what they want to do, use Pro Tools or something else. That's why I'm being cagey, because it really depends on what they want to do and what they have already and so on. I mean, if they have something set up already, it's always a question: is it worth swapping or not? Now, I can safely or confidently say that if you're an audiobook narrator who is working in Audacity or Pro Tools, and I'll be cheeky, Audition, Reaper, we know you can increase your efficiency by using Hindenburg Narrator instead of those for audiobook production, because it was designed for that. In the same way as we know if you are doing podcasts or radio production, you can do it more efficiently with Hindenburg Journalist Pro than you can with Pro Tools, because Pro Tools is a music program.
Yeah.
I would never say to anyone, go record your band in Hindenburg. I mean, that would be really silly.
Yeah.
Because, it's like picking up a hammer and then trying to sew. Okay, this idiom is not
It's a
going to work.
spent cost thing. Once you have a
Well,
shock
it's also
of the
just
first-
it's like holding. Okay, I'm going to try this one. It's not going to work, I know. But if you take a needle and then you take a hammer and then you try to sew with it,
I like that.
I
Now,
wouldn't do that. I don't know.
I do have a question, and probably everyone has this question. What are the investments? Is it subscription? Is it a one-time fee? What are we talking?
Mhm. So our standard for Hindenburg Narrator, which is the one that is not made for talking book for books for the blind, is a one-time fee of 500 US. I'm going to say something I'm not supposed to say. On the 30th of this month, it will be 300 because we have a big sale, our annual sale. But we are also going to introduce the option to subscribe in the next 2 months, 3 months, 2 months. I think I'm going to be careful what I say. But we won't take away the one-time option because we know, for some people they want to do, I've bought it once, I don't want, I've made that investment, I don't want to keep going with. There's others, I don't have the cash flow, I want to keep, turning it on and off. So we're going to offer both, which is going to be a nightmare for me, but never mind. But can I then turn it off on Thursday and then on Friday turn it on? It's like, oh my goodness. But anyway. But we've had requests for the subscription service as well, and we've been putting it off. Now we're doing it. So it'll be both. And I think, if I remember correctly, I'm going to set the subscription at $15 a month, 15.
Okay.
Ish. I'm pretty sure. That's US.
Okay, now I've had a question. I am thinking she means what the big question that we were talking about with the manuscripts, but if you mean audio files, she says, what file formats can you import? Both. What file formats can you import into and export out of Hindenburg? And because this question's come up, I'll let you address the manuscript PDF Word thing. And then also they're asking about other file formats. I'm assuming WAV, MP3.
Okay, so there's separate things. So like the manuscript thing. So this bit on the side here where it has the table of contents, that's where the like structure is, and that's what allows you to do all those things like we're looking at, where you can separate it out by chapters and all that kind of other stuff. So the manuscript itself, I tested a bunch of things today, thinking this might come up. So basically, EPUBs and let's see, this is a long list, but here at the bottom here, so docx files, which is Word documents, HTML files, of course, Hindenburg files, and EPUBs, and some of these other ones are what you can open up in Hindenburg. It is true that
in terms of text,
in terms of text,
we're talking text now.
The text, the text, the stuff that's in the words in the manuscript, and so PDFs do cause problems because they are a picture of a text file. So if you get the text file, like the Word document, instead of the PDF of it, you could do that. I actually just opened up today. I took a manual for something and I opened it up in Photoshop, which is what you use to make the PDFs, and I just exported it as a template and it as a Word document. So I took a PDF file and I opened it, and it opened up fine, actually. So that was kind of cool. So there it is. Like this is the text of that, and it opened up. This is a a manual for something or other. Camera.
Was
I
that
think.
just you saying open PDF? You didn't, when you said Photoshop, I got confused.
Yeah. So like the actual Adobe, the actual PDFs are from like Adobe. They
Right.
you have to have something and make it. So you take a text file and take a picture of it. It's basically what a PDF is. Or it could be many other things, but that's a broad definition. And so basically, in that, I said, okay, go back and make it a text file again, and then it opens up. Fine.
How
But-
do you do that?
In Adobe's
In Adobe.
PDF thingy,
Yeah.
you open your PDF and you export it as a Word file or a
Oh,
text
got
file.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can, I do that because I convert PDFs to Word files whenever I
That's
get
it.
There
them
you go.
from a publisher, so I can get the word count. I have
all
formatting
you-
issues, but
Yeah.
sometimes.
If you
So
open
that's
up
what you would do here.
Okay.
So
That's
that's that. Yeah, and that's on the text side. But we actually researched this with publishers because we were getting comments from narrators saying, "But we only get PDF. We need PDF."
Yeah.
And then we went to the publishers and said, "But you made the PDF from something. Can't you just give them?" They said, "Well, we can give them what they want. They just have to ask." So I think.
Yeah, sorry, I'm cutting you off because the other thing is I asked one of the people asking about it, can you not just convert it to Word? And their point was, well, you wouldn't have the notes or annotations that the publisher sends you in PDF. So if I were to try to get Hindenburg personally, I could just always ask the publisher for Word first. And then if they ever, in the rare cases, don't want to do it, then thanks so much, Don. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Thank you very much.
Bye, Don.
Bye, Don. Nice to speak to you. Thanks.
But then if they aren't able to do it, then I can convert it to Word myself. Am I right?
But the annotations in PDF,
But I would still have
I mean,
PDF file.
yeah, I think I would have to see. I mean, you can add the text into this as he was sharing, and they could comment in Word just as well as they could in PDF. I mean, look, I appreciate that it is the way we've always done it. I really do, and I understand that publishers are going to like, oh, I don't know where the Word file is. But I mean, I guarantee that the author has not written it in PDF. And so the original is either in Word or in Pages. So they have that, and then it's been proofread, and then it's been put into InDesign, which has then done the layout, and then that's been exported as a PDF, and that's what you're getting. But as a narrator, you don't need a beautiful graphic layout. You want something that's easy to read. So you want text. So it's, and we were speaking with Positron about this the other day, and they've spent enormous amount of time making their PDF converter, but that doesn't bring any annotations in either. And it's kind of 95% of the time it'll work, because they have exactly the same problems as we do with PDF, which is PDF is not a thing, it's a container of things, and people can put all sorts of things in there. So, and EPUB is also the way things are going, because people are wanting to make EPUB 3, so we can import an EPUB. So in the not very distant future, most publishers are going to be running on EPUB and stop using PDF as well. So, yeah.
I do personally. I hate when they send me EPUB. I can try to convert it if I at all can, just because it's so hard to like.
Just because I've always had it in PDF.
No, I'm quite good. I'll do Word, I'll do PDF, I'll do almost everything. But EPUB is just so annoying. I don't know why.
But when you import it here, you'll just see it. You'll see. I'll tell you why. Because EPUB's like PDF. It's a container where you can just chuck everything in the kitchen sink in there and then say it's an EPUB.
Yeah, I think what it is the view. I've never gotten a view that I can actually read well. And maybe I'm old in my eyesight, but I
No,
I
no,
don't
but
like
if you
EPUB.
but when we bring it into Hindenburg, you'll be able to read it.
Yeah, because it would look
Because
just like this, right?
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
it'll look good.
Um,
Anyway, but that was not the important question. The original question, sorry, was about the audio, and there basically anything
Any
you can
audio.
import and export, you can import and export into Hindenburg. You can even, not that I know why you want to do it, but you could take a movie, grab it and drag and drop it into the workspace, and we'll strip the audio off it and have the audio in it. I mean, I don't know, as an
so you
audiobook
can
narrator, that would
import an
be
MP3.
a really,
You can
oh
import
yeah,
an MP3. Oh, see, you can't do that in Pro
anything.
Tools, I don't think.
Oh, you must be able to.
Yeah, you can do that in Pro Tools.
Yeah, I just
But
It's
don't
just,
know how then.
why would you want to do it? It's a terrible format with very low quality. You just want to avoid that I mean, you shouldn't. MP3 is the final product and the death of audio. But anyway, but it's like, that's how Don was talking about it. It's like, that's how you make it listenable on a phone, because it doesn't take much space. But it's a destructive. You can't edit an MP3 when you import an MP3 to Pro Tools and want to edit it, or into Hindenburg, you convert it back to WAV. So
Yeah.
you
I
should
don't
never
ever work on
touch
MP3 anyway. So
unless you're I know MP3 is what you give away. So here we go. This is my best efforts are here.
okay,
music formats.
so
Can I show you one
Yes.
last feature?
yes.
All right, so when you export your stuff out, we have this feature. It just got an upgrade. It used to be that you export it and you'd say, okay, I want to export it for ACX or Findaway Voices. And what it would do is it would give you a list of everything that
You did wrong.
that you did wrong, like everything where it's like, oh, this chapter heading is too long, this is too short, the levels are off, the noise floor is too loud. But now when you do it, it actually fixes all that for you. It corrects it. It puts the it fixes your timing. It checks it that everything is okay, and then it actually even puts this extra bit of processing here, which has it at the final level it's going to need to be at. So it automatically fixes your noise floor and your final export level automatically. You just click a button. So that's about as easy as it gets in terms of that. So that's a new feature that's pretty big. Like when you have to send it off to ACX, you go boom, and it just goes boop, 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 fixes everything, and then you just send it off.
So somebody's saying, Lori says, so music formats. I don't
That's
understand.
MP3. That
That's
was a
MP3.
reference to MP3.
MP3. Okay.
I can explain the difference of what that is between an MP3 and a WAV file, but I don't think you want to know that.
I think we all kind of know that they strip out all the good quality stuff so they can make the smallest human possible file so they can easily transfer it.
Yeah, you lose some information because but like most, that's where people, like when you listen to Spotify, that's all streaming MP3s.
Oh yeah. Oh, I never thought of Spotify that way.
There's a reason why Neil Young tried to start his own audio player to compete with, at the time, Apple Music, was because he was saying the quality of the music is just being destroyed by MP3, and so he wanted to make a player which played basically a high quality format like WAV. So, but the problem is it takes a lot of space, firstly, and secondly, you're still going to listen to it on a bad headphone.
Yeah.
So it kind of had a problem. But if you're listening to classical music, you can actually hear, particularly classical, the difference between an MP3 and a WAV. You will really, really hear it because of the dynamic range that you lose in MP3. If you listen to Nicki Minaj, don't. But if you insist, then you should definitely use low quality MP3, because there's nothing. There's no.
But am I right? Because when Don said that, and I've heard that before about the problem is you'll put all this into your sound and then somebody will go and listen to it on a headphone or, on their phone. But Am I not wrong that the better the quality of the original product,
Oh
the
yeah,
more natural and of the connection, even just subconsciously, they're going to feel, even if they're listening on a crappy
oh yeah,
MP3 or something? Because if I put an original badly recorded sound on and they're
yeah.
listening on the phone,
Oh
it'll
yeah.
be useless. So at
Oh
least
yeah,
pick
oh
out
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
bones.
No, 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 absolutely. That's why I mean, we use the term broadcast quality as if that was a good thing, but that's because we Europeans, you know, it's not AM radio we're talking about. We're talking about.
I hear broadcast quality, I think BBC, and I'm instantly impressed. I think I've been in the UK
There you
too
go.
long.
There you go. And so it's like you need to start and have your originals in the highest possible quality. Yes.
Okay.
And you know, if I can at all, I will find a high quality version of an audiobook and play it in my car speakers, which will sound great compared to a thin MP3. But it's really difficult to find that high quality in this. I know
Because
the original narrator.
I was tempted. I had somebody that wanted me to change. It wasn't me. They wanted to change something in one of their books. And it was an old, I had one of the first books I'd done. And before I had a bit of a problem, we were talking about transferring our things to OneDrive and everything in the cloud. The one time I tried to trust the stupid cloud and not also do a hard drive, I didn't have the files anymore, but I could download the MP3 file. But what I would have had to have done is download the MP3 file from ACX, convert it to WAV, alter it, and then convert it back to MP3 and put it back through ACX where they do dodgy. I don't know if they do, but they do something to the EQ. Again, it would have sounded horrible.
No, that's a bad path.
Yeah. And I mean,
I would sell them I would sell the writer a re-recording.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, see how fast that came to me.
Yeah. Well, see, that's why you're the CEO of a business. I'm a freelancer.
That's the only thing I'm actually useful for. Is like, oh, I know how we can make money off that.
No, well, you've also created an amazing product.
No, I haven't.
Well, have you not?
There are people that have, but I haven't.
But you back it and you've worked on it, haven't you? You've helped develop it.
Yeah. Well, I monkey tested it. I was like, why can't I do that? But Jonathan, why can't I do that?
To be fair, you guys are quite a team because people don't want to be sold something, and we put a lot of time. I mean, that's our whole livelihood is our sound, and nobody wants to be sold something. So this is a hard audience, and you guys are very straightforward, and don't pull any punches or anything, and it's a refreshing way to do business.
Oh, Daniela, I actually have a good one for you. Okay. As a roundup, because everyone's starting to look a little tired. I don't know why. We've only been going on for an hour and a half at this point. Yeah, okay, but I've got a little.
iPad.
Yeah,
she's the voiceover, so I think at the point where you were like voiceover, not so sure. She probably
she just left it on and left us, just so that we don't feel embarrassed that there's no one. No, okay, so I was talking to Positron yesterday. We are going to do the same thing as you can do with the other, where you can import the markers into Hindenburg with your corrections on the timeline. So you'll be able to jump around to them, see the comments in the door in Hindenburg, and then do your corrections there.
Wow.
So that would
be a time saver.
Exactly.
Wow. That would be interesting. That would be a good time saver. Yeah. Super team, Hindenburg and Positron.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah.
No, they're nice guys. I really like them. They're really, and they're smart.
They really are. They do the whole charm thing. They do. They do. They're a good team. And you guys as well. So I really appreciate you taking all this time and coming out and talking to us. And Jonathan actually training me on some of the engineering stuff I managed not to figure out in 6 years. And I really, really appreciate your time. It's you guys have been fabulous, and I love the product, and I hope you guys feel that you have the information. Can I put your contact link on the YouTube video in case people are
Sure.
interested and want to ask questions?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Not
Who are we
email,
going to
but
send
like
it
the
to?
website.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, go to hindenburg.com/support, because that's actually the developers.
Yeah, I'm not going
We
to
don't
give
have
someone's
we
email
don't have
address.
an external support team. It's the people making the program that do the support. So you get, direct contact to them, and we don't send you on a roundabout via a third, list of things. Did you remember to turn on your computer? We will ask you if you do, but
Yeah.
you'll be
And that
surprised how many
works.
people haven't turned on their computer.
Or we
But
change
that's a
one
different story.
thing, we change our mic
Yeah.
or we change our interface, and all of a sudden we're frantically calling every tech support person on earth, and you'd think the world melted down, and it turns out it was like a plug.
We were thinking about doing this because we do all these trainings for all the different Hindenburg products and stuff, and we've batted around this idea of doing a kind of I love demystifying things. Like, it's not as crazy as you're thinking. It's just this. It's not that complicated, and audio is just scary, especially for a lot of folks, because there's this, I don't know, it's like it was a well-kept secret for a long time. And we were thinking about having like how does this work? Just to know what we're talking about. This is what, when these people say this stuff, this is what they mean. This is all it is.
Yeah,
if this thing doesn't work, maybe how you can figure it out.
Minus means louder, and then when you tell me that I should put it up, do you mean minus in your world, or do you mean plus, or what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
That kind of demystifying.
That kind of demystifying. Exactly.
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off, Jonathan.
No,
that's exactly perfect example. Is like,
right.
Why minus? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
It does make engineering sense.
It tweaks my brain. I'm a very intelligent person, and I cannot have a conversation where somebody's trying to tell me, get your room tone to, I literally have to go to Lisa and say, talk me down, basically. So is that what that is at the end of the month, Jonathan, a training?
Yes.
That's a training, but that is a training for Narrator, like how to use it. And so you'd download
so here's the link again.
Yeah, but that's great. There's on that link you can find a free trial and the download material to download for it, and then we'll you download the stuff. I show you, like, here's how we start really small and then get sort of more complicated as it goes along, and then you do it as you're going along.
And then you're going to do so. Is there a place we can find out about the other training?
Yes,
The
so
Facebook.
here,
Yeah,
and well, there's also in our news section, there's every month we post all the training that we're going to be doing. So in that link I just sent you is a list of the webinars and workshops we're doing. So we do like short webinars and long workshops.
okay, I'll put that link on the notes. I'll put that link, I'll add that link to the notes of the show too, so that anyone watching this in 60 years. Caroline says, could it be useful for me as a voiceover to do the course? Sometimes do long form e-learning.
Yes, and the reason I say yes is because I know one of our super users is this Norwegian guy who's been doing audiobooks and e-learning for many years, and he uses Hindenburg. He's one of the people I trot out when I need somebody to say something nice to me in the morning. It's like, hey Eric, say something nice, please. Just hey, okay, thanks. And then I go back to work and I feel good about myself. So, and he's on the e-learning and has been doing it for many years, and he has the CTO's ear. So he does things like he just sends Preben like, I do e-learning and I really need this really obscure little function. Can you make it? And Preben has so much pride he can't help himself. and it's like, oh yeah, that's really cool. I'll spend my weekend doing that for you. And then like, Preben, you're supposed to take time off, for God's sake.
You need a guy like that at every company, though. You do.
Yeah, I know we do. We have one actually.
For as long as they live.
Yeah. So
they burn out.
Short answer, Caroline. Yes, I think it'd be worth taking a look and seeing what you think. I'm not going to guarantee it because it is like, you know. But I think my understanding from Eric is that he uses it and it works and it does what he needs, and he still sends me really great quotes that I can use without paying him to be nice. So I'm assuming he means it.
I think we've answered all the questions. Thank you
Good.
so much, guys. I shall send you off. I hope you have, for you, Chris, a good night's sleep, and for Jonathan, a fabulous evening.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much
Thanks
for
for your
all
time.
spending your time with us. That was so nice of you.
You guys are fabulous. And I never even got the trip. There's a story about a boarding school somewhere that I never got to ask Chris about, but maybe we'll have to have him again someday. Thank you very much, guys.
Something about storytelling. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thanks for your
guys.
time.
Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.